Hey guys! And welcome to part 3 of how to set up and achieve your goals. So, we've gone over yearly resolutions and we've broken them down into monthly goals and deadlines. But how do you break those down into a regular schedule for maximum output? Let me show you. So, this part is going to be the most varied amongst everyone, depending on what you're working on and what your day-to-day life looks like. There's a lot that goes into a weekly schedule, depending on whether you work a 9 to 5, whether that's a consistent schedule, or a constantly fluctuating one, whether or not you work from home, if you set your own schedule, or if you have preset hours. How your week is going to look is going to be vastly different from mine. But how you set it up will be about the same. Your weekly schedule is going to be figuring out when you can and want to work on your goals. It's going to focus more on the activity itself and less on the specifics of what you're doing. And for this, I use Google Calendar. I set them up as repeating events rather than tasks or reminders. This gives me the color-coded, easily movable time of day visualization that the other two don't. As you can see, the speed paint there from my tasks is just all day. And it's, you don't have this comprehensive look. And so I suggest at the beginning, when you first start setting these up, set them up as one-time events at the start, and add the weekly repeats once everything is set, so it's easier to move around, figuring things out, because you will move it around a lot as when you're first starting to figure it out. And that way it's not constantly asking you if you want to change just this event or this event or all events or all events in the future, blah 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 blah. Set it up for 1 week first, and then once you've got a determined schedule, go in and customize for the week. I usually have it repeat until the end of the month, since I rework everything on a monthly scale, so if I need to change anything around, it's, again, easier. But the first things first is start with your set schedules. So, the things that are non-negotiable, either by you or outside forces. So, as you can see here, your sleep schedule, your work hours, your meal times, stuff like that. Obviously, I don't have my meal times, unlike my rest hours, set in here, but that's just because I have them written down in the next step in something different. Plus, I've been doing this for long enough to kind of know where everything is. But if you're new to this system, you'll want to say sleep, meals, free time, all that stuff. So do that first. And a side effect of this is it should help you regulate your sleep schedule, because I know all you creatives out there hate sleeping at normal times. You dumbasses. I know. Been there. My sleep schedule was completely non-existent before I started this whole, system, and now I've gained that magical ability to actually wake up at the same time every day. I know, it's wild. I was notorious for missing morning classes in high school because I always slept through my alarms, and now I have, on more than one occasion, woken up before my alarm went off, and actually got up for the day. A regular sleep schedule will do wonders for your productivity. Not that I don't wish I could never sleep and still function normally, because I'm a workaholic, as I've stated multiple times, and you'll hear 1,000 more. But, alas, sleep is necessary, and you get more done if you actually sleep. Anyways, back on topic. So, set up your non-negotiables first. If you have a retail-like job, also known as the chaos schedule, this is the part that you're going to be reworking the most. A lot of people don't get a lot of their creative goals done because of this specific problem because they're like, well, oh, my schedule's all over the goddamn place. I have no time or energy for any of the shit that I want to do. This should help, hopefully. So, set these up first, and then you don't really have to think about it later. You can just kind of autopilot go and do. So, but that's why you want to set these up first. You figure out when you're not free, so you can figure out what you can do when you are. Obviously, if you have a set schedule or you make your own schedule, this isn't going to change much from month to month, but you want to do this first either way. I've changed my sleep schedule on a number of occasions, attempting to do a polyphasic sleep schedule, which I actually really like, but it's kind of hard to stick to. Um, Plus, I've gone from day schedules to night schedules and, back and forth again, depending on life. But for the most part, I work better on a night schedule. So that's what I work. That's what I set up. But once you have your non-negotiables figured out, all the rest of the open space is where you work your goals into. Which is why it's important to add sleep and meals in there, so you know exactly what open space you have. You're not scheduling yourself over a meal, because you do still have to also eat. So, working off your lists from tasks in Trello, you set blocks of time for specific activities for when and how long you want to work on them throughout the week. And I highly suggest having a set color system for this because it helps keep things consistent and, cohesive in the long run. So figure out exactly what color your specific activities are going to be and remember that for later. While you're doing that, you want to make sure to vary your activities, spread them out throughout the days. You can see I don't have writing every day, and that's a controversial topic amongst writers, but it just doesn't work for me. The only exception to that is during Nano, where it is 100% necessary to write every day to reach that 50k goal. But my blood is also 75% caffeine during November, so November is kind of its own thing. But for the most part, you want to vary things out. When I'm working on a bunch of different projects, which all get set aside during November, writing just isn't feasible. Maybe someday if I'm a full-time writer and I can actually make money off my writing, that'll change, but for the time being, I have 30,000 projects to manage. I can't write every day. I'd love to, but... Plus, if you do the same thing every day, day in and day out, while it does help set up a routine, it's gonna get grating, and you're gonna burn out quick. Most writers have secondary hobbies for that specific purpose to just kind of break things up. And burnout is a little too real, and you want to avoid it at all costs. No matter what you're doing, burnout is the worst. So you want to vary your activities, you want to set a schedule, and you want to leave room to finagle things as you need. Not every day is going to work exactly how you want. Things can come up. If you have, for example, depression, some days just getting out of bed isn't going to happen. So obviously this shit isn't going to happen. You'll see that there's a lot of empty space up here, and that's because... up here. And that's because I suck at getting out of bed every day. I have a hard time getting my day started at all, so I leave plenty of room to lull about so I can't laze my way through my tasks. I also leave room in between tasks to give myself extra time in case I either don't start on time or I end up working longer than I'm supposed to. It gives me time to finish things up before I have to move on, and that way things still get done even if my schedule and, my energy levels go all over the place. I'm still getting things done despite, sometimes having a hard time getting it started. Which, this is obviously going to be harder depending on your schedule. If you don't have a huge chunk of time like I do here, obviously you're going to have to crunch that down a bit more. But obviously, you're probably also not going to be working on 30,000 projects at once. So, I have a lot of work to juggle. I have a lot of work to juggle, but I also have a hard time getting my day started. So, there's a lot to manage for me. Speaking of a lot to manage, the biggest wisdom that I can impart here is make sure you have your weekends and your rest days set aside. No matter how much of an alcoholic you are, alcoholic? That's different. No, workaholic you are. No matter how much of a workaholic you are, you still want your weekends. As much as I hate them, they are necessary. Because a lot of struggles that creatives have, especially when they're constantly trying to push out content, is they don't take the time to input and they're constantly just outputting. And the important part of creative process is input. You need to consume media that you like and enjoy, be it video games or reading books or reading comics or just looking at art. You need to take in as much as you put out. And so you want to make sure you set time aside for that. Because that's another part of burnout, is like you keep outputting, and you're just kind of using up everything you've got. And if you're not inputting new ideas and new inspiration, then you're just kind of you're going off fumes. So, weekends, free time, they're important. And, obviously, this will probably be part of your non-negotiable days, but for me, they change a lot since I set my own schedule. But you always want to include them. Overworking yourself is a problem. So, set aside weekends, and set aside, importantly, a catch-up day. A day where if things didn't quite work out throughout the week, you didn't get something done, or, you didn't do what you needed to for whatever reason, you can worry about it then. So it makes sure you're not stressing throughout the week that, oh, well, I didn't get this done, I didn't get that done, and then you're worrying, oh, I need to be doing this while you're supposed to be doing something else, and yada yada yada. No. No. Do the things you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do them. And anything you didn't finish goes on the catch-up day. That's it. And this was a big game changer for me. Not focusing on what I didn't do and keeping my focus on what I needed to do. So then once I have all of this figured out, I will set up, the repeats I'll set up the weekly repeat so everything comes on the same day until the end of the month, or however you want to do that. And then I'll go over to Trello and set up the days for each activity there. This is helpful for the next step of the process, which you'll see in the last video. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the final step of this process. But the point is, you want to work with what you've got, not against it. As you can see, my hours are hella late in the day, especially my streaming hours here. Not only because I'm nocturnal myself, but also because my internet sucks, and these are the only hours it's even remotely decent at. If I want any hope to stream ever, I have to do it super late in the day. So, work with what you've got, and it'll be easier to get things done. Don't try to work against it. Don't try to copy what other people do if it's not working for you. This, obviously goes for me too. I just want to kind of give you a guide to work off of, but obviously change this however you need for your process. Even if it's not what everyone else is doing, especially in your field or whatever, the important thing is figuring things out for you. So figure it out and get a routine in place. And I will say, the first month or so of any routine is going to be difficult. especially depending on how your schedule is before inputting something like this. If you aren't used to being so concrete and concise, it's gonna be a struggle just getting your ass in the chair. But I guarantee if you do it, you will get used to it. And it will get easier to stick to. It's like working out. It's gonna be difficult starting out, but you just have to do it. Put on those tennis shoes, go for that walk. It'll be worth it in the end. It's not easy, but it's what sets apart the successes from the failures. Is just getting up and working past the excuses. Motivation comes from you, other people, and especially a system of accountability, which is why I post all of my goals all the time, is so that it creates that system of accountability. Other people know what I'm supposed to be doing, so I can't make excuses to myself of why it doesn't get done. But so other people can help. People, you could have friends being like, hey, are you doing the thing? But at the end of the day, it's your goals, and it falls on you to make it work. You can't always rely on other people. So, get dedicated. Experiment with different schedules and programs and system, find what works for you, and get it done. Like I said, I've had 4 or 5 years of experimenting to figure this out, but that's why I wanted to share it, so you can hopefully get on a fast track to the output you want. And your weekly schedule can change. This is what you spend the first of every month figuring out and reworking to find out what worked, what didn't, figure out why it didn't work, and then change it. Experiment with hours and times of the day. Don't be afraid to change your schedule. It's never set in stone. I go through constant schedule shifts. That's why I redo these at the start of every month. I always end up changing something. So, just remember that. But once you have this all set, go in, color code everything. Like I'm a very, very visual person, so color codes help me out greatly. So both Google and Trello are completely color coded, but that's the bulk of it. And so next, I'll show you how to take this to the final step. The part that helps me get started every day so I don't constantly have to go to Google and Trello and check what I'm supposed to be doing at the start of every day. It saves me some time. And we'll cover that in the next video, so again, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. And if you found any of this helpful, be sure to leave a like and a comment. It, obviously helps me as a new channel. And I hope these tasks help you. So, I will see you in the next video. Bye!